Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Custom Carving and Epoxy UK. I hope you're all doing well. In this tutorial, I've been playing a lot with blooms. So these are my standard sort of alcohol ink blooms, which I absolutely love the details that you get in there. And these are the sort of more advanced canna lily blooms that I've been trying to do. And I've just had a thought, can I combine them into one piece? These experiments are probably getting a little bit crazy now, but I want to see if I can almost get a bouquet of flowers in one piece. So that's what we're going to be doing now. I'm going to go mix up some resin and then we'll be right back. So we're back, guys. I've mixed up 6 ounces of resin, crystal clear again because it's gone through the bubble removal machine. I'm going to be using the T-Expert 1:1 resin again for this. We're at about 31 degrees on the surface, so I've got a couple of degrees to sort of play with because I want to start this at 34 degrees. Now, again, anywhere between sort of 34 to 36 seems to work for me with this resin. But the reason why I'm doing it at 34 rather than 36 is I've got a lot to try and fit in. And only sort of 40 minutes of working time, and it's already had that sort of 5 minutes in the debubbling machine. So the plan is, and those of you that saw my last detailed bloom video have probably noticed a few changes to my template. So the first one being is I've shortened those ovals, because what I was finding is I was getting quite a bit of almost transparent space in my blooms at the lower bit of the canna lilies, and I was having to put some back in just so it didn't look strange, but it didn't give me the right effect. So I've shrunk those down, and hopefully that means there's less space as well for that circle, providing I can pipe it in, that is, and it will look like a more complete sort of canna lily. Hopefully it's going to work, but as you know with resin you can never tell anything. So the plan is here is I want those feathery alcohol ink flowers in the center. So I've picked out my alcohol inks, which is I've gone with magenta, and always give them a shake before you use them. I've gone with midnight blue, and then I've gone with orange. So I think they'll be quite cool colors together in that center if it works. And the plan is to basically put those in first, typically the same way that I'd do a standard bloom. So if you've seen my easy bloom tutorial, that's what I'm going to do with those. But I'm going to try and put 3 in the center, and hopefully they'll all pull together and look like a little bouquet of flowers. And then round the edge, I'm going to try and pipe in these canna lilies. Whether it's going to work, I don't know, because piping isn't my greatest skill. But for the canna lilies, color-wise, I'm just going to go with the metallic blue again because I really liked that. And then I'm going to be using a blend of papaya and gold. And depending on how it looks, I came out with some pretty cool designs as well in the last video, what I did with this. So depending on how full it looks, I might actually put a few of those little tiny blooms as well, just popping out the edge, but we'll see how we go. Things can go horribly wrong, but unless you try them, you never know. And I love experimenting with resin. That's what this channel is all about. So if you haven't already, do me a favor. I don't ask you to pay for any tutorials or anything like that. All of my content is going to be free for you guys to view, and I do put as much detail as I can in these videos, and that's why they're a little bit longer. I know that YouTube, the average video should be around about 20 minutes long. Mine tend to be double that, and it's just because I want you guys to be able to replicate my successes when I have them. So let me know in comments, do you like the longer content, or do you want me to edit them down further so each video is a maximum of 15 minutes? Let me know in comments, because I want to know. I want this channel to be your channel as well as mine, so that we can all keep learning and growing together as a resin community. But without further ado, I'm going to get ready here because it's going up pretty quick now. So we're at 32 degrees. So I've got my pots ready at the side, as you can see, just for those colors that I'm going to be using in the piping. So I'm just going to get my micas in there ready. So for the blue, it's dead straightforward, and it's just, I can't give you a brand, it's Resin Art pigment paste that I got from Temu, and it's one of my favorites. I've been using it in ocean art, I've been using it in blooms, and every time I use it, it comes out stunning. So again, all you do is you get your stick, mix it around, and it's quite concentrated and quite heavy, so just bear that in mind. And then whatever's left on my stick, I pretty much scrape off, and then that is all I'm going to use, whatever's left on that stick. So it's not a very scientific way, I know, but it works for me. So that's that one. And as I say, the key here is going to be if I can get those inner blooms in and then still pipe the outer blooms and get that to still pull in within that time. That is the question I've got with this experiment. But we'll find out together. That's what it's all about. So for the next one, I've got this papaya, which is basically a really bright orange, which I love when it's mixed with gold. So again, not too much because you don't want your micas to be too heavy, but that sort of amount is what I'm putting in the cup. And then I'm just going to add a tiny bit of metallic gold, and for me it just gives it an extra shimmer and it almost tones down the orange a little bit, which I think is actually really good. So this is a bright yellow metallic powder gold that I'm using, and again probably about a quarter of the amount of the papaya that I put in. And his stick doesn't fit in, so I'm just going to use the tap method and hope it doesn't go everywhere. Need to get some of those little mica scoops because I think that would help me no end. But literally I only want the tiniest bit, so if you can see there in the corner of the pot, that's all I'm adding of that gold, and it's just to give it a little bit of a shimmer, which I find really adds to the orange colour and the overall bloom when it's finished. But as I say, anything can happen, you know, there's no guarantees with resin, and I make mistakes as well as you guys, you know, and I've had a few people where they're getting a bit deflated with blooms and things like that. Just keep going, guys, you will get it. All it is learning the right temperatures for your resin, trying different things and finding out what works for you. So for the white, I'm gonna just use a drop and a half of my Ocean White from Let's Resin, and that's all I'm going to use for that. I'm not going to add anything to it this time because I want the flowers to be the main focus. So literally all I'm going to do is add a drop and a half when it wants to come out, because a little goes a long way. And I did find with this Ocean White, I tried doing some ocean waves with it, guys, and it was really wishy-washy. So use it for your blooms, it works really well, but I found for ocean and waves it just didn't work for me. It was very wishy-washy, there was no cells, and it just didn't work. So there we go, that's 1.5 drops got in there, and that's all I'm going to need. But let me know, have you had any success with this Ocean White doing waves? I don't know. You would think with a name like Ocean White it was made for that, but it doesn't seem to be. But again, you guys may have better results than me with it. So again, just going to wipe this mold one last time to make sure none of those micas have gone on there. And then we're pretty much, there we go, 34.2. So I'm going to go. Well, I think I'm about ready. So the first thing I'm going to do is just pour enough resin into my pots to mix up my colours. And again, I won't need a lot, but probably about 3/4 to half a cup for each one. And anything spare will go into my drip molds. So that's 1, that is 2, and that is 3. So that is my colours. Now I'm going to pour the rest of this straight into the mould. Hopefully it will give me around about 1/2 centimetre of a base, which is what I want. Always scrape your cups as well, guys, because otherwise you end up leaving anywhere between sort of 1/2 ounce and a full ounce sometimes, depending on how much you mix. And as long as you've mixed your resin well, you don't need to worry about scraping your cups, but it stops you wasting that resin. And as you can see, I'm just literally completely scraping that cup and dumping it in. But I'm happy with that. It seems to be going to the side. And I think we should just have enough to create me that sort of 1/2 centimetre layer. Now what I am going to do is just push it around to the edges, just to make sure it is completely going round to those edges. And then I'm going to get any bubbles out, as you can see. And try and make sure you're on a level surface, guys, because if you're not, your blooms will shift and it won't look great. Now I have re-leveled this surface about 3 or 4 days ago, but I've done quite a few projects since, so I probably should have done it again. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, and as I say, my resin's up to temperature now, so it's all systems go, especially since I want to try and get these 2 different types of blooms into one piece. I think that's the biggest risk I've got, is A, my piping skills, and B, running out of time. But we'll see if any of those happen. So I'm just going to go around the edges of the mould, as I always do, to get rid of any of those bubbles that might be trapped, because they like to trap themselves right in the corner of your mould. Any bubbles, flicking them up to the surface. And then I'm going to drop my alcohol inks, because I'm hoping that they'll spread a little bit and then pull back in. And again, it's the first time I've done this, so I don't know if the design I've done is going to work at all, guys, but I'm hoping it does. And also, just on a side note, these silicone tools from Temu, they're not great. When you try and clean them afterwards, these silicone bits pop out and you can't get them back in. So again, just be wary of them. So that's that done. Now I'm going to use my torch, pop the bubbles on the surface, he says. And again, try not to get too close to your sides, because that's where you'll find that if you're going to bond your resin, it's where you bond it. So again, happy with that. All of those surface bubbles that were there have now gone. And now I'm going to drop my inks. And I'm only going to do 1 drop of each here, guys. So make sure you shake them. I'm using the Let's Resin inks. So first, in fact, what I'm going to do is something I never do, is take all the lids off. And it's just because I want to get these drops in pretty much at the same time, so that they don't sort of go all over the place. So I'm going to start with the magenta and literally try and get 1 drop. There we go, in that centre. And it looks like I've measured it reasonably well. Now the orange, like that. And then the blue. And that's going a little bit further out, but it's going to pull back in. And that's all I'm going to do for those. That is going to be the colours for my, I suppose, alcohol effect inks, blooms. And I'm going to let that settle for a second. Now, don't use your torch after this point if you've used alcohol inks, because you could set your workshop on fire, which nobody wants. But as you can see, that's all I'm using, is those 3 drops of the alcohol ink for these ones in the centre. So whilst they're settling a little bit, I'm just going to mix up my colours. So white first. And what you're looking for is almost a semi-skimmed milk colour. I want it to be reasonably opaque, but not too opaque, if that makes sense. I'm happy with that. I can still see my stick through it. And I can feel it's warming up, so I need to get a shifty on. So just pouring that into a piping bag that I've got ready at the side. And that will be my white. And let me know in comments, guys, do you think this is going to work, or do you think I've lost the plot? I actually like the fact that those little bubbles are going in from the alcohol inks as well, because I think it will give different depths of colour. So again, I've just put the 1 drop in, and that's all that's going in. And I'm hoping that there's going to be enough sort of movement in the resin to still pull them into the centre once I've done them, because that's my concern, is on this particular mould it's 8 inches across, and I tend to find that the centres don't pull in very well. But again, we'll find out together. It's either going to work or it isn't, and at least we will know after the experiment whether or not it has worked. So that is my orangey gold. And then next, the metallic blue, which I think will be the heaviest, but it gives me a really rich colour. Look at that. Beautiful. And then that is just going to go into the side. And again, this might not work. It's probably my most adventurous design yet. But I wanted to try something different. And I think that's one of the beauties of resin for me, is there's lots of different experiments you can try, see what works for you. And see what doesn't, you know. So again, just going to get my piping bags ready now. And all I do is squeeze the resin down to the tip and give it a twist. But be careful when you're doing it that you don't squeeze it out the back. So there we go. That is my white. Beautiful. That is my golden papaya. Orange. And this is the metallic blue. Now again, I'm conscious I've probably got about 10 or 15 minutes now, maximum working time, and I'm hoping that I get it in whilst the resin is still shifting, or it won't work. So that is my blue, and that's actually I'm going to have to be really careful with it when I put the tip in, because I don't want it to be too large. But they're my three colours. So first thing I'm going to do is actually spiral effect on those three colours that I've put in with my white. So again, look at that. That's where the tip is. I'm just going to snip off literally where the air bubble meets the resin for this, because I don't want it too thick, but I want there to be enough that it still does bloom. And that's often the hard bit when you pipe. It's getting the balance right. So you put enough paste in that it still blooms, but not too much. And it should just naturally drop out the bag, which this is doing. So here we go. And as I say, guys, it might not work. It might, I don't know. It's the first time I've done it. So again, just using that sort of spirally effect, trying not to get them touching each other too much. And that's it for that section. I will need the white again though, so just going to leave it on the side. Hopefully it doesn't go everywhere. And now I'm going to pull in the design for these smaller petals. So again, I'm just going to use the clock technique. So in at 12 o'clock, then at 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. I forgot what time it was then. And then move that one in. And again, I don't know if this is going to have the effect I want, but I just thought it'd be fun to try. And then the same with the blue. And I'm doing it quite quickly, guys, because I want to make sure that I've got enough time to hopefully pipe in those other petals. And I think they're going to pull in a little. Now, I can't just wait for them to pull in, so I'm going to have to, as I say, guesstimate it. And I may have to adapt my design a little bit from what I printed out, but it was just a template. And there we go. I think that is my alcohol ink petals. And however they shift, they will shift. So now I'm just going to go around them and try and put these ovals in as equally as I can, he says. And as you can see, they've gone a bit further than I thought they would, so I'm going to have to improvise here. But again, I'm still hoping to get that bouquet effect. And if they're slightly out, again, I'm not too fussed by that. I just want to make sure I've got rough ovals and roughly even. There we go. So that is pretty much my white. Happy with that. Now what I'm going to do is at any places where it's a little bit heavy, I'm just going to pull it across a little bit like so, just to try and prevent that B word happening. And I don't know, as I say, if this is going to work at all, if I'm going to get an effect that I want or not, but we'll find out together. And it's not perfect, my piping, never has been, probably never will be. But I just wanted to see what would happen. So now for the blue, and again I want this to be a tiny bit smaller if I can, but I still want it to be enough so that it pulls in and creates that effect. Happy with that. So again, I'm going to do a circle now, and what I'm going to do is try and get it a lot closer to that bottom edge than I have been doing. And the reason why is I've been finding that I've been getting quite a bit of transparency between the two layers, which I haven't liked. So again, I'm just adjusting the way that I'm piping. There we go. So that is my blue for now. And now for the orange. I think it's looking good so far though. Pretty happy. No major errors just yet. And I'm hoping that this orange will just naturally dip out. And again, I'm going to speed this up for you guys because otherwise you're going to be watching for quite a while. But I'm just letting it naturally drop out of the bag, one drop at a time. And that will do for now. Now I'm just going to pull the outer petals out a little bit for these canna lilies, literally like so. There we go, so that is those. Now, what I did last time, I really liked it, was I just created some smaller blooms at the side, so I'm going to try that again. And all I'm going to do is literally put a line of each and a drop. So I'm going to do a little drop here, orange, and as you can see it's a slightly bigger dot. It's a lot bigger dot actually, because I've just snipped off the end. I didn't actually want it that big, but again, we'll see. There we go. So just going to fold it up again so that hopefully I can still put some in my drip mould. Now I'm going to try and get a thin line of white. And there we go, that's the white. And now I'm going to do exactly the same, hopefully, with the blue. There we go. So that is my blue now. And now all I'm going to do with each one of these is pull them in to that centre. Like so. And then just going to pull out a few of those tips. Like so. Not all of them, just a few. If it can just continue to bloom, I think it could be one of my nicest projects yet, hopefully. Not completely happy with that bit though, so I'm just going to move it back in. And I'm just looking around now, any other bits that I'm not happy with. But no, that's it. I'm going to let it do its thing now, so give it a quick torch. I'm happy with the design at the minute. Now, at this point, the only reason I think I'm safe to use a torch, even though there's alcohol inks in there, is it's been a long while since I've dropped those, so hopefully we should be okay. And again, I'm hoping it's all going to pull in together and create a very, very different, almost bouquet of flowers. A couple of bits of blob in there. And I've just used the word that I said that I wouldn't, but again, just want to correct it if I can. There, happy with that. I think it's gonna have to do. But what do you think is gonna happen? Am I gonna get a cool design, or am I gonna get a mess? So as I say, always have your spare drip molds by the side here. I'm just gonna pour this in there, and then we'll come back in about 4 or 5 hours and decide if we're gonna do a bat. Hey guys, welcome back. And it's been about 6 hours, and if you can see, they've really pulled in, and actually those flowers in the centre have really pulled in, which I didn't expect, to be honest with you. So it's got me thinking about the back. And I'm gonna try a crackle effect again, just because I'm loving the way that that's looking at the moment. So I've mixed up 4 ounces of resin, put it through the debubbler, and there we go, crystal clear as always. Now, I've used light brown, I really like it, and it striates really well. And I've found this powder that I haven't tried yet called graphite, which almost looks like a cross between a black and a blue. So I thought it'd be interesting to try that with the light brown in that sort of crackle effect and see what we get. So I'm just going to pour half a cup of this in each of these, first of all. And this is going to be for my colours. And as I said, I don't know what this is going to be like. I've not tried these colours before, but as you probably know by now, that's what I love doing, is trying things that I haven't tried before, just to see what effects, if any, we get. And then I'm trying to pour roughly half of this out around the mould to save sort of half for that push, if that makes sense, to get the crackle effect. And I just need a thin layer on the base. But you've got to do this to get the proper crackle effect, otherwise you just won't get those striations. So I'm just going to help it out, move it out to the edges and make sure there's a thin layer literally covering that whole base. And I am getting through some resin at the minute. I've just had a look and I've got through about 1.5 gallons of resin this week, guys. So any resin suppliers out there that want to consider sponsoring the channel, let me know. I would love to speak to you if you can save me some money and you've got a decent product. Because as I say, I'm probably spending at least 2 gallons a month at the minute I'm getting through. So any resin suppliers out there that would like to sponsor the channel, let me know. I'm open to anyone. As long as it's a good resin. There we go, so that's those bubbles gone. Now it's going to be dead straightforward, mixing the colours. I'm going to try and not make as much of a mockery as I did last time about the light brown. God, I'm 21 for the 21st time and I still find that a little bit amusing, but there we go. So just going to put some of this light brown into the pot. Decent amount because I want it to be quite opaque. And then this graphite that I haven't used before. So it's going to be really interesting just to see what colour it is when it mixes. You never know, it could be a new favourite. That's what I like about trying new colours as well. You never know, and it's like that light brown. I know I joke about it, but I absolutely love it when it's cured now. And it's almost one of my favourites now. More than gold, which I never thought I would see. So, but that's why you always try new colours, new micas, because you never know, you might find your next favourite. So I'm just going to mix those up. And again, that's settling nicely and I've got a nice even coat. And I spoke to somebody earlier on one of the Facebook groups who said that she was really struggling with dragon scale or crackle effect. That was my first question. Have you tried to put a clear coat down first? And the answer was no. So it very rarely works unless you've got that clear layer. So that's the light brown. Again, make sure you've mixed it really well as well. And I think this is going to give me a really nice, rich, dark backing, which is what I want. And hopefully if we get some of that crackle effect and that shows through the front, that'll be lovely. But I don't expect there's going to be a lot of space because of the amount of flowers that I put into this to make it a bouquet of flowers. So here's the graphite. Again, go slow at first if you put the mica on the top, otherwise you're just going to get a cloud of mica powder. And it will go absolutely everywhere, guys. And do me a favour, if you've not already, like and subscribe to the channel. The channel's growing, which is amazing. I want to keep that going. So I'm going to pretty much pour most of this around the edge. Then I'm going to do the push, but I am going to save a little bit for that centre because I want to make sure it comes all the way in. And actually, that is a lovely sort of grey-blue colour. So again, it's quite nice. So as you've seen, I've sort of already got that clear layer down. So I'm going to do this in 2 different ways and see if it makes any difference to the crackle that we get, if we get one. And it's always an if, never a guaranteed. So I'm going to pour a layer around the edge first, he says. And that's probably about half of this graphite. There we go. A little over half actually. Then I'm going to go in with the light brown. So it's going to be interesting to see what colour these make when they mix. Especially since I've never mixed these 2 colours or anything similar before, to be honest. So again, just a ring. Going around, trying to make sure it's reasonably even. Because I want an even effect if I get one. Then what I'm going to do is pour the majority of it in the centre. But just save a little bit back. So there we go. I think that'll do. Then the same with the graphite. Try and do it from a height as well. It just encourages it to push out. Like so. Then I'm going to use the rest of my clear to make sure it all pushes out. Beautiful. And then, just because I don't want it to go transparent this time in the centre, I'm going to scrape my cup first. I don't actually think it will with that graphite, because if you look there, it's already pulling in nicely. But again, I'm just going to scrape my cup, get the rest of this clear out, because there's no point leaving it in. There's no point wasting an ounce of resin, or half an ounce, or whatever it is. There we go. So that is all my clear gone now. And now I'm just going to go in again in the centre. And I don't know if this will affect the crackle at all, or if we'll just get a transparent ring. But it's something I just wanted to experiment with and see if I get a different effect, you know. And then in with the last drop of this graphite. And as you can see, it's creating a slightly different effect, and I think I'm going to get more of a dragon scale effect, if I'm being honest. But that's okay. I'm happy about that. And can I get a couple of drops of this light brown in the centre? And there we have it. So this is going to be an interesting looking back, I'm hoping. Scrape the rest into my drip mould in a second, but I'm just going to torch the bubbles off now. And now let the resin do its magic, hopefully. Again, I never like to use a heat gun or anything like that when I'm doing stuff like this, because I just want to see what the resin does on its own. Just using, I suppose, the forces of nature to create its own little pattern. And whatever will be, will be. And it's like the last time I did this, I ended up getting almost an angel in the centre that appeared, which was very bizarre. But happy with that, and now I'm just going to leave it. So we will demold tomorrow, and I'll see you then. So here we go, guys. It's the next day, and I don't mind admitting I'm really excited for this one. I'm hoping it's going to be great. I love the way the back's turned out with those two different colours and a weird centre, almost a bit like a geode, I suppose, in that centre, but striations definitely happened around the edge with those two different colours, and I can't wait to see what the other side looks like. So I hope you're as excited as me. Will it look great, or have I tried to fit too much in one bloom? We will find out. So in fact, no, what we're going to do, I've got the drip mould, so I'm going to do that first of all. So the spare drip mould that I've been building over the last few projects, which should be a plant pot, hopefully, he says. Now this can be an absolute pain in the backside to demold, so I'm hoping it's not going to be this time. So just going around that edge, trying to get a little bit of looseness and working it around. Here we go. And always make sure when you demold something, guys, put it straight back in its original position. Otherwise you're just going to wreck that mold, like so. So this is basically just been created by the spare resin in the different projects. And my light's just gone. But no, absolutely love that. You know, just those different lines of colour coming through it. Bit of a sparkle in the centre. There we go. I actually prefer that to the one that I did a couple of videos ago on my own, where I decided to actually do a plant pot. But no, I actually really like that. I think it's great. You've got the stripes, you've got that geometric pattern, and that's turned out great. So one of my succulents will be happy. But the main event, here we go. And do me a favour, guys, if you're liking the content, if you like the experiments, just do me a favour and like and subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge difference. But wow, I absolutely think this is the best one I've done yet. So we've got those canna lilies going around the edge, and they've pulled in really well. And then we've got that different form of flower in the centre. I'm going to try and get you guys some better lighting on this as well. In fact, I'll get you some extra pictures at the end. But do you know what? I think that's my best one yet. And I love the fact that these alcohol ink blooms have sort of stayed in the centre. tiniest bit of blobbing on that one, I think. And maybe that one. But apart from that, it's pretty much the way that I wanted it, which is very unusual for me. So yeah, let's have a look. And I love the glisten from that metallic blue and those gold stamens. And then obviously we've got those flowers in the centre as well, which just gives it something unique and different. And if you can see through to the back, you can see where it did actually striate as well and almost create a bit of a crackle effect. But yeah, I absolutely love that. And it's like a full bouquet of flowers rather than just one or two. But let me know what you think in comments, guys. Let me know if you like it. And I will see you guys on the next one.